My name is Burd, and I'm very excited to be here this evening to talk to you a little bit about the culture of India. When I started to think about this presentation and which country to select, India was high on my list because it's always been a country that has interested me, and I felt like I knew a little bit about, but knew I had a lot of assumptions. When I started thinking about culture and specifically about India, the first thing that came to mind was the Taj Mahal. So how many of you have heard of the Taj Mahal? Okay, all of you. So when we look at this picture, we can see a beautiful architecture, something that is really, I feel like, a highlight of India if you think of it. How many of you have ever been inside the Taj Mahal? Okay, no one. So I have a picture here of the inside of the Taj Mahal. If you look here, you can see the incredible detail of the floor, the ceiling, the walls, and that's sort of what a culture is like. We can see the outside of the Taj Mahal and make some assumptions and even see the detail there, but not quite in close detail. And when we go inside, we see a little bit more, but it's still a challenge to really cover all of those details. And there's so many little intricate details. So today, my goal here, what I'm going to do is use some culture theory to talk about India. What I'm going to use is the trust model, the 3 ingredients of culture, and the 5C model, which is all from the Unlocking the Business Cultures book. I'm going to utilize the 5C model to explore India's culture, and then I'm going to ask the question, what does that mean for business in India, and explore a little bit of the business culture and the etiquette in India. Since you all have the copy of the PowerPoint, I just want to make note that on the bottom of each PowerPoint slide is resources and references for you to link out to explore even more about India. So first, we're going to talk about the trust model as one of our culture theories. So the trust model is especially important in business relations. Trust is essential, especially in international business. We rely on trust to make sure that these relations are true and that people are to their word. Tumlin and Nix say that trust is an attribute created by 2 elements, rapport and credibility. So rapport and credibility is what creates trust. So let's dig a little bit deeper into what rapport and credibility are, and as defined by Tumlin and Nix. So rapport is the ability to build good relations, social and business relations. So in some cultures, a poor working relationship ends the social bond. For example, in the USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. For other cultures, you only do business with people you like and trust. For example, China, Japan, and Russia. India kind of fits into both areas of that, and so we'll talk about it later on, the importance of relationships. But building that rapport is essential in building good relations. Credibility is how one demonstrates their ability. So their actions, the way they communicate, and how they adapt. So the building rapport and credibility is how one comes to trust and building good relations, which is essential to international business, but relationships in general. So next, let's dig a little bit deeper. Culture. We need to understand 3 things about culture. Like we saw in the Taj Mahal, the details, there's so many little details you could cover, but there's 3 main areas that you want to cover. You want to know basic information about the country, its people's attitudes and values, and their behavior. So to dig into that a little bit deeper, let's look at the 5C model. So that's going to talk about cultural knowledge, which is the basic information and familiarity. Cultural behavior, which is the basic profile and identity of the country. Cultural values and attitudes, which is what makes the country tick and what turns it off. So those different values and attitudes for each individual. The cultural preferences, which is important to both understand your own preferences and the differences and how to navigate those preferences. And then lastly, cultural adaptation. So training to develop, to adapt and communicate effectively with different cultures. So what we're going to do today is take those 5 C's and do an overview of India. So the knowledge, behavior, values, attitudes, preferences, adaptation, and then say, what does that mean for business, and talk about the etiquette and customs. So first, a little bit of an overview of India. I found a quick video I'd like to share with you which just shows the beautiful diversity of India in a pretty short clip here. Just shows a little bit of the diversity of landscape and people in India. I'm going to highlight a few things that were told in that video just to give you a little bit more of an overview. So India is a South Asian nation. It's the world's largest democracy, and it's the world's second largest population, 1.3 billion in 2012. So geography is very important to understanding where a country is. This shows here kind of an easy look at how India is close to China, Nepal, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Also here, this is a list of the most populous cities in India. I won't go through all of them, but I do want to highlight Mumbai. It's the most populous city, and it's also the wealthiest, right here. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about religion. Religion and spirituality is very important to the culture of India. You can see here that the major population is Hindu, with 80.5% in orange. The next largest is Muslims, which is 13.4%. Christianity makes up 2.3%, and then the additional religions there. So very, very diverse with the number of religions and languages and the cultures that they bring to India. So speaking of relationships and spirituality in India, some of the cultural values and attitudes, really the relationships are key. In India, kindness and empathy are essential to relations, and building rapport and credibility to build trust. One thing that might sound familiar is namaste, which is a common greeting and farewell in India, and it means I bow to the divine in you, which is truly a beautiful statement and reflects the importance of relationships and valuing one another. In India, you want to get to know someone and you want to let them get to know you, and that's really what will help build rapport and credibility and therefore trust. Family is key in India. The father is the head, so tradition and respect are very key, but definitely a family mentality in the workplace, and the appreciation and honor of family is very important in India. So that's just some key cultural values and attitudes. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about cultural preferences. So meals are an important part of any culture, but one of the things that is key in India is that you'll find mainly vegetarian cuisine. And the reason for that is Hindu do not eat beef, and Muslims do not eat any pork. So you'll find a lot of vegetarian items. You'll find that eating with your right hand is what you need to do, because the left hand is considered unclean. And it's always accept refreshments. That's a key preference. The communication style in India is more indirect. People prefer to cover their face and to be collaborative and not be very direct in their communication style. With that, in India, it's preferred to communicate on the phone, or face-to-face is the number one preference. Interestingly, with the phone, a voicemail is not considered to be a relationship building. That could be considered actually more informal and not acceptable. And so, but communicating over the phone is definitely a preferred communication, and face-to-face is number one. Time is something very interesting and important in cultures. So time in India is relaxed and flexible, and so it's very important to be adaptable to timelines and time and to navigate that very keenly. As we look at cultural preferences, it's very important for us to understand our own cultural preferences. And as I looked into India, I found that my preferences, at least listed here, definitely match the Indian preferences. So, eating vegetarian, eating with right hand, those are things that I can do and I can definitely adapt to. Communication style, I definitely myself am a little bit more indirect, and so I could definitely fit in that category. And also with time, I like to have structure, but I'm very flexible, and so I think working in an Indian culture or interacting in the Indian culture, I could be fine with that. But maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you are very direct in your communication and you really need to adapt to the style, or you are very much like to be on a time schedule, and so adapting to a culture of India might be a little bit more challenging for you. So let's talk a little bit more about this adaptation. So it's very important to get to know individuals, kind of key from that relationships. If you learn the first names, you can use them when offered. For your first meeting, it's important to use a more formal name. Compliment and encourage, so definitely that empathy and kindness will get you far in building rapport in Indian culture and being adaptable and flexible to sign. Lastly, I just want to touch on karma. Karma is the destiny shaped by actions. Again, back to that spiritual nature of the Indian culture. And that's something to understand of how decisions are made and consequences are thought of. So what does this mean for business? I just want to watch a quick video about business etiquette in India, since there's only one of me, to show this of what business etiquette looks like in India. So we'll watch a quick video there.
How to follow proper business etiquette in India. Learn a few Indian customs with these tips to avoid any unintentional rudeness. You will need titles, respect, attention, and flexibility. Step 1. Use the titles of your Indian counterparts, or address them as Mr., Mrs., or Miss. Exchange business cards at the beginning of a meeting, which is standard Indian business etiquette. The Western habit of whistling to get someone's attention is considered impolite in India. Winking may also be interpreted as offensive, and even sexual. Step 2. Conduct yourself with respect that reassures Indian business people that your intentions are trustworthy and sincere. This includes reining in the Western tendency to be aggressive, which, in India, can be taken for disrespect. Step 3. Decline expensive gifts if you can. When you can't, accept the gift with both hands. Set aside a wrapped gift until the giver leaves, which is considered proper etiquette. Avoid motioning to someone with a palm up or by wagging one finger, which is an insult. Standing with your hands on your hips is also considered an aggressive posture. Step 4. Accept all food and drink during business meetings, even if you elect only to nibble at it. Step 5. Remember that Hindus don't eat beef and Muslims don't eat pork. Many Indians are entirely vegetarian. Be sensitive to a predominant cultural and religious inclination toward vegetarianism and a general abstention from alcohol or cigarettes. Indians prefer business lunches to business dinners, by and large. Step 6. Go along with a general disregard for punctuality. Relax and be flexible with them and business will go swimmingly. Did you know? The Indian gross domestic product grew at 6.7% in 2008 to 2009, one of the fastest growing economies in the world.
Alright, so that's a little bit more about business etiquette in India. Just want to dress for business in India, we were able to see a little bit of men's business attire, so formal suits and ties, you saw that, and also full sleeve shirts and a tie is acceptable. So a little bit more casual as well there too. I want to touch specifically on dress for women. So as a woman working in India, I'd be needed to have a higher neckline, slacks or a long skirt, neutral colors, limited jewelry, and no high heels. So if I were in India for business, I would take off my sparkly bracelets and my sparkly necklace. And since I am 5'7", take off my heels, put on some half flats. I'm wearing a little bit more neutral clothes, so I'm okay there, and I have a little bit more casual, but at least I'd be a little bit better and have refined myself a little bit and adapted. So that's a little bit about business and the culture and how it impacts business. So just want to leave you with some further resources, specifically about business and leadership, and then a little bit more about etiquette. So these are some quick links for you. Just want to highlight this first link, which is the Leadership in Business, which is the Forbes India Awards. And this is a really fascinating interview where they talk about transformational leadership. As MBA learners at Bethel, we talk about transformational leadership, and this would be a really interesting video for you to watch to get kind of an Indian perspective. And then I also included some kind of easy to read and navigate etiquette tips. So lastly, one of the things that I brought up was that idea of namaste and bowing to the divine in you. I think as we look into other cultures, we truly are able to see the divine in these other cultures and see God in this diverse world that we have. And so, as I conclude my presentation, namaste.